This is the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini, along with my engineer, Rob Barrett. I love him so much. This is the how-to edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. How to deal with crisis management, how to teach kids simple concepts from preschool to middle school, how to lead, how to write a book at any age. We begin with Daniel Schotter, who wrote, Lead Like You Mean It. What's that mean, Daniel?
It just means that really to be a leader, you have to have intent. You have to plan. You have to focus on what you're trying to accomplish as a leader. I think we can't underestimate what that means. So the book basically walks the reader through a process of becoming a better leader by developing personal relationships with their employees. And I believe that when employees feel valued at a personal level, they grow to know and trust their leaders more deeply. And through that, they're more likely to improve their job performance.
Why did you write this book?
Well, I think a lot of us have experienced poor leadership in the past at some point, and I'm hoping to motivate people to become better leaders. I think that's critical in our world today, especially as the world is changing, and through social media, people are less attached to each other. And I think that through personal relationships in the workplace, we're able to improve our performance and our job satisfaction, and through that, our lives.
Did something happen to you in the workplace?
I feel like I was pretty lucky. Actually, I had some good leaders in my career. I was also able to observe poor leadership and the results of that.
Companies are so big, and when you talk about personal relationships, I mean, it almost feels like they're non-existent. You know,
right.
the decision makers aren't necessarily the people you work for.
In the book, I point out the difference between being a manager and being a leader. You can manage a company, you can manage a project, you can be a low-level leader and have 3 or 4 people that work for you, or you can be an upper-level manager and it's your team around you that are your personal relationship people. And then that needs to flow down through them to the next level. And so I don't expect upper-level leader to have a relationship with everyone in the corporation, but it's these little microcosms of relationships that really help get things done.
So what kind of reaction are you getting from your book?
I've gotten some good reaction. I'm getting people that I know to read it and give me feedback, and I think that they're happy with it. I think there are some really good points in the book. It's a simple concept, really. I think relationships are important because, as I mentioned before, in our world of social media, we think we have a lot of friends and interconnects, but we really don't face people one-on-one and have that kind of a personal relationship. And I think with the younger generations especially, they crave that interaction. And by having that in the workplace, it makes them feel better about themselves, it makes them perform better, and they bring that home with them as well. There's nothing more miserable than a person who has been battered all day at work, coming home to their spouse or their significant other and taking that on them.
Right.
So I think that by having a good relationship at work, by being satisfied, by feeling valued by your employer, that overflows into your personal life and just makes the world a better place.
Thank you for writing this book. I think you should take it out to every major corporation in America.
Well, I'm trying to work on that right now. I'm trying to get involved with some social media aspects. I've got some different universities I'm hoping to send it to and corporations as well. So I'm hoping that this broadcast will help with that a little bit, and I'm excited to spread the word. I think it's important for our nation and it's important for our corporations in the country that we really improve the workplace and have a good relationship with our employees.
Are you retired?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so could you do consulting and use this as your handbook?
I could. I thought about coming to corporations and having either half-day talks or just presenting the basis for the book to people and having it part of their corporate leadership training. And I think that would be a good way for me to kind of get the word out better.
Why did you pick Page?
Well, I got involved in the quagmire that is the publishing business, it's really difficult for a person who's on their own to go out and try to find a publisher. I saw an advertisement for Page. It seemed like an opportunity for me to present a book. They did an evaluation for me, which added validity to it. I didn't want to self-publish because I wanted that validation from a publisher that they actually had read the book and gave me some feedback as far as the potential for success with the book. Page was easy to work with. I was really happy with the people that I dealt with one-on-one, and I think that the end product came out as well as I could have expected.
Good to hear, Daniel. It's nice to feel worthy. Nice to be told you do a good job. Right, Rob? Isn't it nice when somebody says, you do a great job. You are awesome. Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, you are awesome, Rob. So mark that down on your calendar. I don't understand why some companies don't get that. It's not always about throwing money at people. It's about feeling like you are a part of a team that values what you bring to the table. Anybody who says they're too old to write a book should listen up right now to Elmer Dreyer. He wrote Tale of a Wayfarer, and he's 104 years young. Am I right, Elmer?
That's correct, yes.
And you wrote your first book.
That's right.
That's amazing. The Tale of a Wayfarer.
That's correct. It's the story of my life up to the time that Mr. Obama became president. And then it took me a little while to get it published.
Did you grow up in New York?
Well, I grew up in New York State, yes. I was born in Australia.
Oh.
And came to the United States when I was about 2 years old. Then I lived in the Bronx for about 25 years. And then I moved up to the Yonkers area.
What did you do for a living?
I was a member of a private firm. My brother and another person. Originally, the firm was established in 1913. When my brother was born, we were importers of precious stones. In the beginning, I was a bookkeeper, and then I became a salesman.
Okay.
It was called Gray Brothers and Whiter.
Why Tale of a Wayfarer?
I traveled during that time when I was in business. I retired after 50 years. I traveled across the country from one coast to the other. And then I spent about 30 to 35, 40 years of my life traveling every continent, the 7 continents.
Out of all of the things that you've seen in your lifetime and all of the things that you've experienced, what stands out? Is there one thing that stands out for you?
I can't really tell you that. I mean, they were all exciting. Everything was exciting. I like to travel.
Well, I guess there must be all of those exciting and unique things that you experienced are in your book, and we're going to have to read it to find out, right?
That's right.
How did you write this book?
I dictated it on a tape, and somebody else typed it for me.
Why did you live so long? What's your recipe for a long life?
I thought you would ask me that question.
Doesn't everybody ask you that? I mean, tell me you didn't smoke, you didn't drink.
I didn't smoke, I didn't drink. I lived everything in moderation. I always had a positive attitude in my lifetime.
Hey, always had a positive attitude. See that? I believe that. Elmer's life was not without hardship. No life is, obviously, but it's not all about the fall. It's about how you get up or something like that. 104 years old. Tales of a Wayfarer. Check it out. Continuing on our how-to theme, Dr. Vince Marcassani wrote The Fundamentals of Crisis Management. It kind of sounds like a textbook or a handbook.
Not quite. Not quite. It's not a handbook. It's designed for just about every operating company in the world who has the potential for crisis, and that includes just about everybody. And the general public. The general public really has a right to know what these companies need to have in place to prevent crises from occurring. And in addition, if they do occur, what are the steps they should take? What are the procedures that should be in place such that the crisis will have minimal impact, if at all?
Doesn't every business have a crisis management handbook?
No.
They don't.
No. The larger companies, the big companies that are Fortune 500, yes, they do. Even those who do have it, they should run crisis management exercises literally once a year, and to actually create what I call a scenario. The scenario would be where they believe they are weak, and then they create an internal, non-existing crisis that they will have to address. And these exercises should be full-blown. I have conducted such exercises whereby I actually hired firms to bring in television cameras and put the chief executive and the main staff under little duress, answering difficult questions. And of course, this was a fictitious, made-up crisis, but it had every aspect of being real. As a matter of fact, at the close of one of them, the attorney for the corporation, who happened to be in the room, of course, he turned to me at the end and says, "That was intense." I said, "That's what it's supposed to be, because when and if it does occur, it's intense, and you've got to be prepared."
You almost sound like you're a media trainer, because media trainers go in to help executives deal with the media. And, what are they going to do when they're faced with questioning and they're on camera or they're on the radio or whatever?
That's one of the chapters in the book. How do you manage the media?
Is this what you do for a living?
I worked for a number of major worldwide chemical corporations. I was responsible for crisis management and ran periodic exercises, created scenarios, and some of which lasted several days.
You're pretty much just drawing on your own experience.
Yes.
What is it the public needs to know?
Public needs to know how should a company be prepared? What should they be doing? How do they evaluate risk? And how do they deal with risk? If they do have a major incident, what do they do to protect the public? How is communication set up that the public is aware?
Now, do you just mail copies of this to all the people you used to work for? Or what? How are you selling this?
Well, what I've done is I've contacted people, major trade associations that I have worked with in the past, and had made it available to them. There's been some enthusiasm, that's for sure, because people who are directly involved in this, they want to know more, of course.
This isn't your first book, is it?
This is the second book. The first book, I was a contributor to a very technical book called Air Pollution Management.
Why did you go with Page?
I was looking for several publishers, and Page was most attractive. And I said, this is the one I'd like to go with. And the people have been wonderful. I've been very pleased with the organization and the treatment I have received in getting the book published.
Okay, Dr. Vince, I guess you can't go wrong with crisis management. I mean, something everybody needs sooner or later, am I right? I mean, everybody has a crisis. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We will continue with the how-to edition of the Page Publishing Book Club right after this.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. This is the how-to edition. We have a bunch of authors, it just kind of worked out that way, that all have ideas on how we can do things. So how about how to deal with someone on drugs? Now, that's something that, according to John Ellis, can be overcome. He wrote Kid 10 Drugs and Love. John, Kid 10?
KIDTEN. Well, if you read the beginning of the book, it talks about a father telling his son about a kitten and how the kitten separated from his parents and just what the kitten goes through. And as later on in the book, he relates that to son, when he becomes an adult, he relates that to a kid that he sees. So that's why it's kitten, KIDTEN.
Okay.
It's just about a woman who gets involved with drugs and a man who was already involved in drugs and has a pretty good idea as to what she is going through. And he sees himself in her and wants to help her. And the way he meets her is through her kid, who is sitting on the stoop day after day. He comes home from work, or when he's going to the store, he sees this young lady sitting out on the street day after day. And he wonders what she's doing out there. And that's when he finds out that the mom is on drugs, and he kind of gets involved with the mother. Well, actually, he gets involved with the kids first. She has two daughters. So he gets involved with the kids first, and then gets involved with the mom, and just tries to help the kids, and in doing so, help the mother as well.
What is this based on?
Well, it's based on experiences that I had when I was out there using drugs and people that I ran into.
What kind of drugs are we talking about?
We're talking about marijuana, cocaine. The drug that she uses is heroin. She starts off using cocaine. She didn't use drugs at all, really coming up. But her husband winds up getting in an accident. Her life, just turned around because now she has to provide for two young kids, and things are getting hard. And girlfriend introduces her to someone, and she starts using, drugs. And my choice of drugs is cocaine.
Man, I'll tell you what, heroin is so huge everywhere,
I know.
And it's frightening. It's just frightening because kids don't realize that, it's really possible to use heroin once and
they don't know what they're getting involved in and how it's going to change their lives totally. I mean, just completely turn their lives around.
Upside down.
Yeah, upside down is right.
So are you hoping to, help kids stay away from drugs with this book? What's your purpose?
Well, I'm hoping that with the woman I'm writing about, I'm hoping that other women will see themselves in the book and what they put, not only the kids through, what they put themselves through and their families through and, just everyone through by getting addicted to the drugs, and that it can be turned around,
Even with heroin, you can turn that around?
Oh, sure you can. I mean, they say once you're an addict, you're always an addict. You may always have, I'm not going to say you're always an addict in regards to what drug you use. Because if you want to bad enough, you can stop it. And sometimes all it takes is someone who can relate to what you're going through and help you to see what you used to have and who you used to be. Because if you've been an addict, no one's an addict from day one. So you've had a life before you become addicted. And you can get back to that life because that is what you basically really want. You don't want to continue being an addict and going through what you have to go through, neglecting yourself, neglecting your kids, and that becomes your main focus, just getting high.
Was this a real woman in your life?
Someone that I met, yes.
So how are you getting this book out?
Well, I'm talking to people about it, but right now it's pretty much word of mouth, and my daughter, one of her friends has put it on, I don't know whether it's Facebook or one of those. I'm not that up on that, to be honest with you. Okay. And so, but basically that's it right now.
John, if it saves one life, you've done something.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. If one person can relate to it and, and get a better understanding of what's going on and see that they can make a change in their life, then, it's accomplished what I was hoping to accomplish.
All right, John. Next up, how to teach kids basics. Arnese White Bennett is right across town here in New York City, and she wrote a book that gives kids a one-stop shop for learning. It's called The Learning Candy Store.
It's for children, pre-primer up through third grade, and it covered everything. It started out with self-identification and family, naming parts of the body, And then it went into ABC, numbers, rhyming, sight words.
Are you a teacher?
I'm a retired teacher and a retired school psychologist.
So you saw a need for a book like this?
By all means. As a matter of fact, I have a granddaughter that's 6 now, and she was living with me. I always had her on the computer, and I made a book for her, and she called it her homework book, and she loved it. Most of her friends wanted it, and a lot of adults had said, well, you need to publish that. And I started the new one, and that's how this one came out. As a matter of fact, schools could use it.
So this is good for ages?
Through 3rd grade. Pre-primer would be before kindergarten, going straight through 3rd grade.
Sounds like a good book to have at home. It does.
Well, I'll tell you what, my grandkids, they love it. My 2 granddaughters, they love it. And they work with it. And a friend of mine bought it for some older kids, and they fought over it because it's a fun book.
Will there be any more books?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm working on one now. Includes sight words. That's all. It's just sight words. You know how you have the pictures in there? Well, I use urban children and buses and apartment buildings, and because I wanted to focus on the urban child, because children that are trying to read, they can't see a farmer and a cow and help them to read. So I focused and I took pictures of the bus, apartment buildings, downtown, anything that would be familiar to children who are living in urban areas, which will help them to read. And my little granddaughter is in 1st grade now. And I put the book out in front of her one day, and she said, oh, I know those words. And she started reading the sight words. And I said, wow.
See, doesn't that make you feel good?
Yeah, it did. It really did. We went to a restaurant recently, and she was reading the signs in the restaurant, and that just makes you feel good, that she was able to use that and help us get over that little bump of learning how to read.
I'm a big believer. Anything we can do to help kids learn how to read and make it fun is something parents should definitely check out. So thanks for giving us another tool, Arnise. Finally, how to deal with people who try to tell you what to do when you don't want to do it. Jerry Locke wrote, Jerry, you tell me.
I'd rather go to hell than the heaven that you're in.
What does that mean?
Well, it's about helping others to not go in the opposite direction. If you feel like that you're going in a good direction in life, whether it be your job, your diet, your relationship, your parenting skills, to your children, if you feel that you want them to go in this good direction that you are propositioning to them, then you need to make sure you adjust your attitudes and your actions in life to get them to follow and not want to run and go the opposite way. And, so I've been saying this statement a lot, and I have a lot of people saying it. Like if someone says something in a negative way, like, oh, look at you. Can't you do something else besides eating all that food? And you say, well, I'd rather go to hell than the heaven you eat. And they'll go eat more food.
Do you have some experience with this?
Oh, yes, I have some experience with this, a lot of it. I'm a very unique person. I've been a beautician for 15 years because I couldn't finish college. But even before that, when I was 17, 18 years old, I was a rapper. And, there weren't too many female rappers out there. I just had so many people, especially family members, people that you look up to, they kind of pushed my dream away. They said things to me like, well, why are you doing that for? You know what I mean? And I kind of I rebelled against them. I was like, I'd rather go to hell than the heaven that you're in. I didn't want to go to church anymore. I didn't want to go to family functions anymore because I just didn't want to be around it. So even if they had a good idea or, they were trying to steer me the right way, I just ignored them. I wanted to go as far left as possible because of the way that they came at me, So, yes, I had a child at 16 and, I went through a lot. I really was embarrassed. I didn't have no one who embraced me, you know what I mean? So I try to live my life differently. Now I know I was meant to go through that, much like Zonita is in my novel. You know, she realized that she's meant to go through these struggles in life so that she's able to help someone else. Now when I come across a young woman, you know, or a young man or even an older person who maybe has their back up against the wall and they feel like everybody is against them, I can tell them, you know, my story and help them to want to go to go in the right direction instead of simply going off the cliff.
Good for you, Jerry.
I did one book signing so far. It went well. I was the top seller there because, as you can see, I'm good with talking about my book. So
Right.
I did some poetry shows, got on the stage at a club and, you know, did a poem or two and then talked about my book and had people buy it. I do a lot of social networking. I've been on Facebook like 3 statuses today, sharing the links again. And I mean, I can write a poem per day. So I just got through writing like a little bit of a poem and kind of get people's, you know, attention. And then I'll say something about, well, this is what Zonita did. You know what I mean?
Right.
In the book. So just to get, you know, to stay in people's minds and everything. I'm from a small town, which is full of family, which is really difficult to get a lot of them into my book, but it's easier on the bigger stage for me. Like, I talk to people who don't know me, and they easily want to find out more. You know, they want to read my novel, you know, and they find it very interesting. This was new for me. And writing this novel was an accident. You know, I never dreamed of writing a novel. I was only making a poem. And now it's so easy for me. The movie is still in my head. I've actually started the sequel. So, you know, when I get signed by a bigger publisher,
Great.
you know, I can put it out there right away.
Well, I guess I'll be talking to you again, won't I, Jerry? Okay, everybody, say it. Are you with me? I'd rather go to hell than the heaven you're in. That's a great title, man. And that is all the time we have for tonight. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini, along with my engineer, Rob Barrett. Come back next week for another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. Have a great weekend. Start writing.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple, iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free